Welcome to the Jay and Brian Show, the fastest growing real estate finance podcast in America. Today's show is brought to you by My City Lender. Here now, Jay and Brian.
Welcome, everybody. Welcome once again to the Jay and Brian Show. Excited to have our listeners on board here. Really excited about our guest today. Chris D'Angelo joins us.
Chris, welcome.
Thank you guys. Thank you so much for having me.
Chris is a product of Desert Vista High School. That's where he started in his track adventures. Graduated from GCU. He was a competitive cross country and track star. I don't know if you were a star at GCU.
Track star in our book. He's a track star in our book. So
yeah, to the normal public guy, I was. Yeah, normal public guy, I was a track star. But at the Division I level, I was a pretty average distance runner. But still.
Well, it's not every day we have a track star in the studio. So welcome.
Thank you.
Chris grew up in an entrepreneurial family. He is a brand new real estate agent. How long ago did you get your license?
I officially got my license, I want to say on June. Oh my gosh, it was probably like June 5th.
Okay.
A month and a half ago.
Yeah.
Okay.
6 to 8 weeks ago.
2 months ago.
Yeah.
Yeah. Awesome. Congratulations on that, by the way.
Thank you. Appreciate that.
Chris is cutting his teeth in the real estate industry on the vacation rental side of things. So he manages a portfolio of properties for Rebel Rentals. We'll talk about that for sure. I'm sure Chris is really excited about the new partnership. Leslie Sunye teaming up with Reveille Schaefer to combine the vacation rental business and a traditional real estate business as well to be able to provide a full range of real estate services.
Absolutely, yeah.
Which is awesome. So, Chris, welcome to the show. Excited again to have you here, and we're gonna kind of talk about how you got started in the real estate business, what led you there. We're gonna talk about the vacation rental business as well, kind of get a feel from your perspective where the vacation rental market is. We'll dive into I think more. I don't want to use the word philosophical because that's too heavy of a word for our show here.
That is heavy. That's way too heavy.
But talk about from Chris is recently graduated from college and he's building a career at this point in real estate and building that foundation, a solid foundation on which to grow your business. And you've gotten a lot of experiences so far, and I want to hear about the experiences that have led you to this point. And we definitely want to hear about some of the more entertaining vacation rental stories that you probably have at this point.
Definitely.
And kind of take it from there. So. So running track. I mean, how was that? It seems like a really great sport. I mean, it's definitely a competition amongst not just your teammates, but the other schools that you guys are running against. And
definitely, yeah. So being a cross country runner, I started when I was in 5th grade. Literally, it just started as one day my coach was like, my gym coach, he was like, "Hey, you'd like to run, and you're faster than most people. Do you want to run cross country?" And I was like, I don't know. Sure, I guess. I had nothing better to do.
Okay, why not?
I just like beating people, honestly. It was literally that simple. And so started out that first year. Did pretty well all year. Again, how they had that divided was, you just raced against your schools, the other schools, practice in the afternoon. And then you only race against 5th and 6th graders when you're in those, ages, and then 7th and 8th graders race against themselves. And they kind of changed the, distance that you race. And so, obviously had that whole, middle school was great. Middle school is where I really found my footing in running. And I felt like I was, obviously high school and, college running was fantastic and stuff. But when you're from a small school, I was kind of dominating people in, my area.
So he was a star.
He was a
yeah. Maybe it's a humility thing or something, but I can't say that, for myself.
He's using words like dominate.
Yes, right.
Like dominated the competition.
I was a star.
But I don't want to pat myself on the back, but I wasn't a star.
Yeah. So 6th through 8th grade. So I transferred schools after 5th grade to a different school. 6th grade, 7th grade, and 8th grade, I didn't lose a conference race. Wow. So won all of those. By the time I was in 8th grade, I'd gotten 3rd in our state, middle school state cross country meet. And then I was a 457 miler, 8th grade. So that was, I was, definitely better than everybody in that area. But again, it was Cottonwood, Arizona. So, I'm not racing against the big boys in Phoenix or anything like that. Which
Not yet, right?
Yeah,
So,
right.
Yeah, okay.
So when it came time to look at colleges, we were talking about it earlier, how there was some pretty high standards at the D1 level for runners coming and cross country people coming out of high school. Tell us about that. And because you went through Ann Arbor on your way to Arizona, right?
Right. Yeah. So I was I lived in Ann Arbor for a couple years, just when I was a very young boy, before I was 7 years old.
Oh, okay.
And then from there I moved to Cottonwood, Arizona, and so then from there, transferred to Desert Vista High School in Phoenix, which is easily one of the best, cross country programs in the state of Arizona. Their average placement at a cross country championship on the men's side is like 2.5. So they're either first or second or third pretty much every year.
Yep.
The off years are the years they get fourth, barely. We still love those guys, but at least when I was there, it was an awesome time. So senior year comes around and, you start looking at universities and colleges. It was the dream to be a Division I athlete, just like, any athlete.
Sure.
And so you kind of just start looking for the right fit. Some people were looking, obviously look at more of a smaller, place, Division II, Division III. Those are some awesome universities. There's great competition as well at those levels. And for me, I also, I looked at some of those as well. Just, I don't know, it was about the fit of the, when you're picking your college and you're, where you're going to school, it's not just about, the name of the school or, where they're at and stuff. It's about all these different factors,
Sure. Yeah.
Running was a big thing for me. Location, the environment and the atmosphere. Those are some of the things that, drew me very closely to GCU. As I made that selection process, proximity to family. I almost walked on at Colorado State. That was one of the places I really wanted to go. I have an aunt and uncle who live about 5 minutes from campus.
Okay.
And so that was a pretty attractive location as well.
Yeah, that would be a beautiful place to go to school.
Big time. So that was one place I wanted to go. I thought about it, but then GCU kind of was the place that, just called my heart. And, it was such it was incredible experience to be a cross country and track athlete at the Division I level.
Awesome. And so you didn't go into real estate right away after you came out of school. What did you do?
Yeah. So
what was your degree in, by the way?
Yeah. So my degree was in, I had a bachelor's in business administration.
Okay.
I had a minor in accounting.
Gotcha.
And so when I first was getting out of school, I met a recruiter from Automatic Data Processing, Inc. Again, their, main processes and stuff is just to process payroll for, really, companies as small as your mom and pop shop on the corner of the street to, large corporations in America. It just kind of depends on what level of sector you're in. And so I worked for the guys that were helping out those mom and pop shops, just processing payroll, and I thought it was a good fit. Just because I had this accounting background that I didn't even want anyway.
Right.
It was the first step, and to me, taking the first step was first. I wasn't gonna do like a simple kind of job. I was like, I might as well just take a leap.
So were you hoping that you'd be able to apply some of the business administration background with ADP?
Yes and no. Honestly, I mean, the thing about business administration was it was very it was just generic. That's the reason I did it for my undergrad, because I was like, okay, I want to be able to do anything. I want to be able to go, because really in business administration, they just dabble you in a little marketing, a little accounting, a little finance, a little econ, a little, whatever it is. And so, general business strategy class, stuff like that. And so the reason I did it for my undergrad was because, for example, if somebody was going to be just a marketing person, or for example, like a sports marketing person, there are so few jobs in that specific,
really specific,
super specific, right? And so, it's awesome. I would love to work in the sports marketing department of the Phoenix Suns. That'd be cool, but I felt like I could get that job still being a general business major. Because of all the other reasons that I have, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And just kind of being broad rather than narrowing myself early.
That's good.
Yeah. Yeah, so that's kind of where I started. So then, I worked at ADP for a couple months, 8, I want to say, pretty much from graduation in the middle of May until the middle of February of this year. And really the story of kind of how I got involved with my current company, Rebel Rentals and Staysonia Realty, was my roommate. His parents were just looking for a vacation rental here in the Valley. They have a home in Fort Collins. And so they were just looking for a home here in the Valley. And we were out looking with them, just looking. And, their realtor that was there was showing them around stuff, Sarah Fye. Shout out to Sarah. She's pretty much, one of my lifelines at Staysonia and Rebel. And she recruited me in, and pretty much we went to a local Patron to have a beer, and literally we were just sitting there, and I was like, I started picking her brain.
And you were old enough to have beer at that point.
Yes,
that was
yes.
Okay. All right.
Yeah.
So that's another thing for the record. Chris, you are how old? You're 20.
I'm 23 years old.
Okay.
Yes.
All right.
Yes.
Okay. So you were of age.
Yes.
Okay.
I was 22 at the time.
Okay.
I was 22 at the time. Right. And so, I'm just sitting there at lunch. We're waiting for my roommate's parents to come back and meet us at this restaurant. And it's me, my 2 roommates, and Sarah, who's a realtor. And I'm, I just start picking her brain. I'm like, gosh, I am not happy with where I'm at. And, I've always wanted to be. And I think the real estate industry is so cool. What advice do you have for a 22-year-old kid who doesn't know nothing about it, And she literally just turns to me and goes, yeah, we're hiring right now.
That's great.
And I was like, oh, okay. I was like, all right, sweet. That sounds fantastic. And so then I got connected with her husband, Matt. They were gracious enough to bring me onto the team at Rebel Rentals and, help me out through, my real estate courses and classes and stuff.
But back up a little bit. So you come on board, but they throw you right into the vacation rental business, right? So did they immediately throw a portfolio of properties for you to manage, or how quickly did that come about?
Yeah. So when I first started, again, I was going through overnight classes for real estate school, so I could start working, learning the business and things. And so
you're doing that while you're working? Mm-hmm. Okay. Yep. At ADP?
Yeah. No, not at ADP.
Oh, okay.
So I had put in my 2 weeks notice at ADP. Then I went to Rebel Rentals, and I started doing Rebel Rentals, and then overnight I was doing classes.
Oh, okay. Gotcha. Okay.
And so
still a full schedule, full day.
Yeah, totally.
Okay.
Big time. And so,
you can do that because you're young.
Right. Yeah. Realistically, my days off on the week were just school. They were just school days, and I just grind school as much as I could. But pretty much, I got thrown in. Matt didn't give me my own specific homes that were assigned to me right away.
Okay.
He wants to make sure that I'm not going to quit after a week. So, the first week.
It's probably a fairly high turnover type of role.
Yeah. And
managing.
Kinda. It's really been interesting to kind of experience that. And so I'll touch on that for sure.
Okay, sure.
So when I first started, a week in, I was pretty much on my own. So, a lot of the work that I do is just alone. I'm just driving from, location to location to, check on my homes, manage them, facilitate people coming to the homes, stuff like that, whatever it is, greeting guests.
Chris has offered to take me along on one of these rides.
This sounds like a blast.
I'm definitely going to take him.
I'm happy to be the guy in the back seat.
I told him I'll even bring a video camera. We'll make some kind of fun, some video out of that.
Absolutely. You guys are both invited. It'd be a lot of fun. I'll take you to some of our best homes for sure.
We can bring a camera.
Chris, can we try out this water slide? Make sure
Absolutely. Oh yeah. And so then when I finally got, my properties where they were, okay, Chris, you're the owner liaison of this home. Mm-hmm. And so now you're the one that's communicating with the owner directly. You are the one that's communicating with the guest directly. And you're the middleman between those two. And also in between those two things, you're managing the home, making sure things are up to par and standard, taking care of the home, et cetera.
So do you have to have a real estate license to manage these rentals?
Yes.
Okay.
So when I was in the process of getting licensed, again, I was kind of operating under my boss's license.
Okay.
And so then it was a little bit of a different process. And so that's why, they require us to get licensed, to make sure that we're compliant with that stuff. They say, okay, well, we can't just have some random person walking around, really doing all these things for these homes. And so that's why, that's kind of what that process was like.
Okay. Because you're held to a higher standard. Right?
Exactly.
Okay.
Right. There's certain things that a real estate agent has to be, or even a property manager has to, you have to be bound by, certain fiduciary duties, to your clients, to your homeowners, that's not always the case in every transaction.
And even the tenants, because they're short-term tenants, but they're still tenants.
Right. Totally. Yeah. And so those tenants, I have to be able to provide certain things specifically for them. For example, in Arizona, happens all the time, not all the time, I guess, but it happens every now and then, an AC goes out and, I can't just say, all right, well, sucks. That's all good luck. I can't say that. It's Phoenix, Arizona, and August now. It's bad. So you got to work on it. You got to go through the process.
So would you have to find somebody like temporary living situation in that case?
Yeah, I've done that.
We're putting you up in a hotel or extended stay.
Never putting them in a hotel. We're putting them in another house of ours.
Oh, gotcha.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Find them. And so that's a fun process.
Wow.
Honestly. Yeah. So sometimes I've a guest calls me. They're like, we don't want to stay in this house. Because of X, Y, and Z. Certain reasons. Okay. Well, let me look at some options, see what I got available. During the summertime.
No kidding.
I swear. Yeah. So during the summertime, there's quite there's way more, again, my company manages a total of like 185 homes in the Valley,
Holy
in
cow.
Cottonwood,
wow.
Sedona, Flagstaff. So that's kind of where we operate.
Okay. That's a lot.
How many was it, did you say?
Around 185.
185.
Yeah.
Wow.
So closer to like 150 to 160, I think, in the Valley.
Okay.
And the rest are in those other places. And so, so I've had tons of times where, guests, hey, this is going on. And, hey, okay, well, let me send you some options. The summertime, not all of our homes are booked on a weekend. So I could send them an option or two. But, December rolls around, every house is booked. I'm going to have a different, situation.
And you get a whole range of clientele, right? So you get everything from young groups who are in town to just party, and then, the older couples who are visiting Arizona just to get out of the winter.
People party
to get out of get out of the Cleveland winters or
man.
Right. I mean, you've seen a whole.
Yeah, I've seen everything. I've seen everything in regards to what type of clientele I get. And so, the homes that I look over specifically, again, there's a couple of people, there's multiple people that are in my same exact role at Rebel Rentals and Stay Saunier. And so my area that I kind of manage is Moon Valley, which again, Jay, I don't know if you're familiar with where Moon Valley is.
Yes.
And then I manage 2 homes that are in just like technically like kind of central Phoenix area.
Okay.
Just north of Bethany Home. And then I manage about 6 to 8 that are in North Scottsdale.
Okay. So it's a pretty wide range.
Yep.
Okay.
Now, you were telling us about one of the properties that has huge, I've seen the pictures of it, just a gigantic, awesome resort backyard. It's got like putting green and all these different things going on. Is that under your care, or is that
So the one that I showed you, that is one that's under my care.
Awesome.
Which is, a lot of fun. It's fun to have the cool houses, and so, I get lucky. North Scottsdale also has just beautiful homes and really they're just well done, well put together, well maintained. And, shout out to all of my Rebel Rentals, cleaners and, company, they all do such an awesome job at maintaining their homes. I have a personal bias though. I think Moon Valley and North Scottsdale are the best, areas to be at.
Yeah, that's great.
And we get really good clientele there too. So during the, busy seasons of the year, in regards to, how expensive it is to stay at a house, one of these houses, for example, one of our homes that we manage in North Scottsdale, it's got 8-hole putt-putt golf course in the backyard.
Oh, wow.
And
cool.
it's probably got about 40 palm trees, and it's got a resort style pool. Yep.
So it looks like a resort.
Yep. It's a resort. And so that home, I mean, it's just absolutely beautiful. The owners are awesome. They're really great, nice people. And so homes like that, you're, for a bachelor party, they're, it's going to be tough for, a bunch of 23-year-old girls who are just, got out of college, or even 23-year-old guys, to be able to, afford that. So the clientele is different in North Scottsdale as compared to Old Town,
Sure.
Tempe, you're getting a little bit of a different clientele there.
Yeah.
You're getting more of that kind of scene, I think. But
So as a rental manager, what's the most difficult situation you found yourself in terms of having to deal with for a guest or the property?
Ooh, wow. Well,
He's like, where do I start?
yeah, well, I've got a lot, honestly. I've got plenty of stories. But one that I'm kind of working on right now. So my family friends, their vacation rental has struggled lately with some, plumbing issues. And so it's been a whole hot mess of getting, again, Sarah was the realtor on that deal, involving her, involving everybody in our company, in our operations side, just figuring it out and taking care of it. But, I don't want to give too many details on that stuff, but it's
With plumbing problems.
Yeah, that's
Okay.
as far as I guess I'm comfortable with
What's
saying.
the craziest thing you've seen? Managing the properties or dealing with the guests. What's the?
Well, I'll tell you a fun story. So, literally, it's probably like 2.5 weeks ago. I'm stopping by a house. It's probably 8:30 p.m. So again, check-in time for all of our properties is 4 o'clock. So I can do a couple of rounds of checking in on my guests, saying, "Hey, how you doing, guys? I'm a licensed realtor. Just being communicating with them, making sure they have everything they need at these homes. After a certain time, it's kind of like, okay, it's starting to get a little late. I'm going to leave these people to be, to enjoy their space that they've paid, a lot of good money for. And so this one house, I was stopping by late. And so I texted them beforehand. I was like, hey man, do you guys like beer? I was like, what kind of beer? What do you want? And they're like, Coronas, man. So I was like, all right, cool. So I brought them some Coronas. And they're like,
What a
dude,
guy.
yeah, right. And again,
They were 21, right?
yeah, yes. And so they're like, hey, Chris, dude, come on in. And so then, I walk in and there's about just 15 people, again, wasn't crazy or anything. And they're like, hey, it's the Airbnb guy.
Oh, no way.
I was like,
That's
I was
awesome.
like, yeah, cool. And they're like, dude, do you want a shot? And I was like, I mean, don't tell my boss, but yeah.
Oh, man.
And so it was literally such a funny experience. It was like, wow, I've never had that.
That is
Never had
tremendous.
that situation happen before, but it was, it was a good time. It was cool to just, meet my guests and, kind of communicate and, connect with them, which is cool.
And you were telling me you get some wacky requests sometimes from the guests.
Yeah, all the time. I mean, all the time. And in regards to wacky, sometimes I'll get like, I'll get some unrealistic expectations too. For
Okay.
example, I'll get somebody who's like, one thing that we get during the monsoon season a lot is, we have, there's a lot of wind, there's a lot of dust, leaves get into the pool. And they're like, the pool is disgusting. I'm like, there's like 9 leaves in the pool. Like, lady, I need you to hold off on that, like that judgment there. Like there's a little
That's
pool in
pretty
that.
crazy.
Yeah. But again, I also understand, somebody's paying, $1,200 a night. They want it to be perfect. I get it.
Yeah.
So, I do what I can to try and accommodate
Yeah.
them. But at the same time, I'm also like, hey, you could, just think there's a
Skim
little,
that yourself.
yeah, I just think there's a little difference of opinion on some of those things. But
Yeah.
again, that's just the interaction between guests, every guest that comes into town, whether they're spending, $100 a night or, busy season of the year, it's going to be, $5,000 a night, easy for some of our homes. Depending, doesn't matter, they expect the property to be in X condition.
Yeah.
And it just depends on the person. So.
That's funny.
Yeah. Oh, it's great, man. I've got so many fun stories from, the property management work.
What's the funniest thing that has been left behind
Oh,
by
gosh.
a guest?
Oh, wow. So that guest that invited me in, that I brought Coronas to, they left a promise ring.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Oh,
And
ouch.
so he calls me up. He's like, I have his phone number saved now.
Was it left on accident or on purpose?
I want to say it was on accident because he asked me to send it back.
Okay.
And so he calls me up. Hey, Chris, man, how you doing? Look, like, I think my friend forgot her like promise ring. it's got a big old diamond in the middle. Can you just find it for us? Is it there?
Man.
And, luckily we found it. I sent it back to them, but that happens all the time. I have to send stuff back to guests, books, small things, just, random. Depends kind of on the situation. But honestly, a promise ring, that was probably the craziest thing that somebody left behind. I was like, oh my gosh, that's like, it's kind of expensive looking, but
But that's great that you take the time to get those things back to the guests. It's part of offering the full service for the guests.
Totally, yeah. And our company name used to be Platinum Experience, the Platinum Experience.
Okay.
And the reason that it was kind of about that was because we provide that next level of service. We're not just, hey, here's your crappy Airbnb. It is what it is. You paid your money. Don't talk to us. Don't bother us kind of thing. Okay. We care about our guests. We take care of our owners the best we can. I think everybody in our company and organization is really committed to that.
It sounds like you guys do. And what I'm hearing is if you're an owner or an investor in a vacation rental, you don't want to manage it yourself.
I'm catching that too. And that you'd want to hire Chris to manage it.
Definitely.
So,
definitely. Look us up on, www.rebelrentals.com. We've got some awesome, new homes that we're onboarding, and, awesome. We will happily take more.
So if you're an investor in this market, you're either own a vacation rental or you're thinking about owning a vacation rental, like what parts of the Valley are the most attractive at this point?
Absolutely. Yeah. So, in the Valley, number one, without even a question, is Old Town. You're going to find the best homes. You're going to get the best money in Old Town Scottsdale, because you got to, number one, you're booked year round because,
it's Scottsdale.
It's Scottsdale. Number two is North Scottsdale. So North Scottsdale, again, you get a little different clientele there just in general. Doesn't mean it's exclusive to that or anything. But again, North Scottsdale is number two. Number three, we're looking at Paradise Valley and Arcadia. So that area is definitely grown significantly. The Paradise Valley vacation rental, some of the homes we have in Paradise Valley, like one of them has a lazy river.
Oh, nice. Man.
A lazy
so
river.
Can we go see this one?
Yeah,
okay.
I think we can. It'd be awesome. That house, again, that house is just incredible. The owners just fly in. They go, yeah, I'm just going to fly in on my jet. So I'm going to stay for a night. Yeah, I'm just going to hang for a night.
Float in the river and get back on my jet.
Exactly. And I'm like, what's going on?
It's one of the great perks of being an investor in vacation rentals is you have second homes everywhere.
Exactly.
That is true.
Yeah. Yeah, literally.
That are cash flowing, that are generating income.
For sure. Yeah. You spend, a good amount of money, getting it up to par and, things like that. And then for 98% of the year, you're not at that house. You're at your own house, and then for 2% of the year, you can go and enjoy that house. And, you're already paying the mortgage, but then the rest of the year, it's just churning and burning. And that's the cool thing about Rebel Rentals and Stay Saunier. We are a full service. So we will help you find your home. We will help you market your home. We will help you design your home. Then we'll help you manage your home from start to finish. And, the spectrum of owners that we,
Leslie has a design background, right?
Yep. Yeah. So awesome. Leslie has a design background and, now, so our director of onboarding, his name is Jeff. He heads a team of about 10 or 12 designers. Mm-hmm. And so some of the cool things, they're doing some crazy things, with some of these homes, and incredible designs. For example, last week on Wednesday. Yeah, it was Wednesday. They did such a they converted a 3-car garage into it was literally just like a jungle. That's how I felt when I walked in. They had huge paintings on the walls, and they had shrubbery everywhere, and they just had they totally took it to the next level in regards to, trying to design a cool theme. Tomorrow we have another grand reveal, a home that has, a beach volleyball court. It's got a regular sport court, half court. It's got batting cages. It's got, putting green. It's the works.
That's awesome.
And that's in North Scottsdale. So, again, they just keep doing cooler and cooler things. They're doing one design that they're doing. They're doing a splash pad. Do you know what that is?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Like one of those little.
We have kids. We know.
Yeah,
we know
right. So I think have you guys ever been to Kiwanis Park?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah. So Kiwanis Park has that new splash pad out kind of cool. By the lake over there. But it's just kind of cool. I'm like, you're doing what in a vacation rental? Like a splash pad,
That's cool.
It's perfect for big families getting together.
Exactly. Yeah.
Good idea.
And so, our team is just getting so creative with going from start to finish in regards to getting a home, ready to go and, on the market. But then also just doing something so unique and cool. Vacation rentals are becoming a really common, investment for people. People are starting to catch on. Oh, wow, that sounds like a really cool idea.
So I have a question for you. It's a call-in question. He's not on the line right now, but when I told him I was doing the show, he's like, oh, ask him about Queen Creek, Mesa, where the Legacy Sports Complex has gone in. This giant, huge, mega sports complex with soccer fields and baseball fields and basketball courts and tennis courts and cheerleading competitions, people coming in from all over the country to use this space. Are you guys, I just would love to get your opinion on that area of the valley, if that's an opportunity.
Absolutely. Oh yeah. So I did do I did a little note taking and some research before I came. I just wanted to run some numbers by you. So these are some of the stats for, again, Valley Stats provided by Shane Sawyer at Greystone Title.
Awesome. We love Shane.
Love Shane.
Thanks, Shane.
And so these are from his reports that he sends out. He sends out Valley Stat reports every Monday. And so the first one I ever got was on June 27th. And the most recent one I got was from this Monday, the 8th. And so
he does a weekly video report now.
Yeah,
just FYI,
I love it.
You haven't seen that.
Yeah, I love it.
Yep.
It's fantastic. So anybody out there that's looking to for the vacation rental industry, just want to kind of hear about, not even the vacation rental industry, just the real estate market. It's a great place to start and start to see some of the numbers.
Awesome.
But over the last 6 weeks in Mesa, inventory on a single family residence has gone from 624 homes to 969 homes, a 55% increase.
Okay.
The prices of homes in Mesa has gone from $550,000. Again, this is median price. To $524,000.
Okay.
Just under
back a little bit.
Yep. Just under a 5% decrease. And so,
what do you guys attribute to that?
Well, definitely interest rates. Again, you guys, on the lending side, I'm sure you guys have seen that for sure. It's slowing down the market quite a bit. And it's kind of just giving, buyers some of that foothold again. Regular buyers, because investor buyers, they just got cash on hand. They
don't care about the rates.
Yeah, they'll pull their cash out any second, any day. But people that are actually, wanting to stay and live in these homes, those are the ones that are affected by, the interest rate, changes pretty drastically. But I mean, I guess you guys might have a little bit of a different perspective on that too. What do you guys think kind of you could attribute that to?
Well, I definitely think rates have had an impact. I mean,
for sure.
It's more complicated than that, right? I mean, home value has been going up so fast for quite a while now. So affordability is a little bit of an issue, especially for, single families and individuals. But, and that all contributes to it. I mean, there's a bit of good news that came out. So the Mortgage Bankers Association, Fannie, Freddie, they released their periodic rate forecast. And the average forecast is actually for rates they've pretty much plateaued. And there's an expectation that by the end of 2023, rates might actually come down a little bit, but pretty much remain stable.
Yeah.
And I think that my thought is that we'll get to a point where inventory reaches a certain level and rates have kind of stayed where they've been at for a while, and people will be a little less freaked out by what's going on with rates, and they'll see a lot more inventory, and you'll hopefully have a lot more families and individuals coming out going, okay, I can take my time and find the right home now. The values are still kind of up here, but I can take my time and I can find the right home. Sellers can have a little bit more confidence that when they're ready to trade, that they can sell their home and not have to be scrambling to find a home that might be okay. I mean, that's kind of my take on it.
Yep.
Right, definitely. Yeah, and so, really Mesa, piggybacking back to Mesa, Mesa is such when we talk about the best places to find a vacation rental, Mesa is the best value right now. Because you look over at Bellbank Park again. I played in men's league at Bellbank Parkway out there with 20 basketball courts, 30 volleyball courts, 36 soccer fields, just like
it's
nuts.
Massive.
It's huge, and you look around. There's not really very many hotels. So the vacation rentals out in that area are just booming. So the East Valley, that's where a lot of Again, my company doesn't operate in the West Valley. The furthest west that we go is 7th Ave.
Okay.
And we only have 2 homes at 7th Ave. And then everything else is North Scottsdale, within the 101 out there. And then, obviously within the 202 loop out here in Mesa.
Okay.
We've really been growing in the East Valley. It's just like a weed. It's just like so much. Like, really, it's an excellent place. It's more affordable than your North Scottsdale. I mean, North Scottsdale or even Old Town, minimum, you're probably going to be spending $900,000. That's a lot of money for a vacation rental. I mean, you got to have 20 to 25% to put down on that anyways. You're looking at, just do the math, you're looking at $200,000 down. Like, not every, person in the world's got $200,000. It's hard to come by just cash in your hand. And so, places like Mesa, like I said, what's that number? Median list price, $524,000. Okay. We're getting to a little bit of a, different conversation, different number. So it's just, that's definitely where the best value is right now, which is really cool.
Okay.
So as far as have you seen any areas around town that are not friendly toward vacation rentals?
Oh, yeah.
Ooh, good question.
Yes,
like
for
that
sure.
question.
So, I mean, North Scottsdale, people live in North Scottsdale to not live in Old Town. They said, I have, the ability to afford a home that is not in the middle of all the parties, and the partying of Old Town's, the vibe of Old Town. And so I'm going to live in, North Scottsdale. And, they, unfortunately, another person moves in next door. They, sign for a vacation rental, and then, they got a party right next door, which is, a problem. And so definitely HOAs, a lot of HOAs, there's some certain law that's kind of been passed. I believe Doug Ducey actually passed some law about short-term rentals and how they're allowed, or HOAs and how they're not allowed to, per se, maybe limit a short-term rental, depending on certain verbiage that they have, prior to somebody, signing on and, living there. But there's plenty of neighborhoods that,
I think
where they buy it and then they turn it into a vacation rental.
Yep.
So there's no, nobody would know.
Well, I think the law, it kind of went after HOAs that had zero language about short-term rentals or that type of use of it at the time that the people purchased the home. There are some HOAs that have some verbiage in it, like this could be amended at some point to exclude this type of use or something like that. They're, I think, exempt from that law. I might be wrong. If anybody out there knows better, please let us know. But yeah, that's right. But they're clamping down on HOAs preventing that type of usage.
Right. Yeah. Because, again, it's at the end of the day, at certain points, we have to respect, the homeowners association, the group, the people that have all decided to live in this small, quaint neighborhood. And then you got this one dude, who's throwing a, fat party, but he's not even throwing parties. Yeah. It's, guests that are just coming there and he's just using it as an income, earning asset. And so, but then on the other side, it's his own house. He can do whatever he wants, If he was living in that house and he wanted to throw a party every night, I guess he could, unless there's some verbiage in the HOA that says you're not allowed to do that. And so, it's kind of one of those weird, fine line things. And the short-term rental industry is, evolving still, the relationship with Airbnb and VRBO and all these different, third-party companies, the homeowners, the neighbors, homeowners associations. It's all, guests. It's all just this kind of, we're still figuring it all out,
Yeah. So, Chris, you're young. Where are you on your personal real estate journey?
Yeah. So, I actually did close my first real estate deal on July 27th.
Awesome.
So that was a lot of fun. I was, it was a home out in Goodyear for my parents. And so shout out to Steve and Kim.
Nice.
Just have to let them know I love them a lot. And it was really an excellent experience. Again, it was my first deal ever. And so I got to, have that, you go through school and they teach you, okay, here are the things that you're going to see, just so you know. And there, obviously the Arizona School of Real Estate and Business, they did such a good job with their education. Even I did it online. I wish I would have done the 9-day crash course. But overall, it was such a good experience to go through the schooling, but it wasn't like the actual doing it,
Right.
And so, having the chance to go through it, And, again, I didn't really have to sell myself to my parents, I'd have to be like, hey, I'm the guy you can trust, of course they could trust me, it's kind of different. So, especially as them being entrepreneurs and, they kind of brought me and raised me up in that way, of being an entrepreneur. It was a really cool and unique experience to be able to be a professional and kind of be equals with them, you know what I mean? Cool. Even though they were my client, and I'm going to protect their needs and stuff. It was a very flip of the script because, for all of life, they're the ones that are protecting me.
It's still mom and dad allowing you to work with them in a professional capacity, which is awesome. That's great.
It was a really cool experience. I loved every second of it, and I learned so many things just from, again, it was, about a month, 32 days or so of, escrow and, just going through that process. I called, you mentioned Reveille earlier. I called Reveille pretty much every single day just to be like, hey, what do I do here? I don't know what to do, and she's like, okay, just relax. It's all good. This is what you're going to do. And, I had a lot of help. Sarah, helped me write my first contract.
That's awesome.
We just sat in a bar. We just sat in a cold beers and cheeseburgers and just wrote a real estate contract,
Yeah.
And that was a cool experience. And then having Reveille there as well, she just had her hand over me and helped me out with that.
So awesome.
It was really cool to have those experienced people, take a young guy like me just under their wing and hey, let me help you.
See, and that's awesome. You recognize the opportunity in learning from people that have a little bit more experience than you and trying new things and getting new experiences. One of the reasons I was really excited to have you on the show is because you are young. You're recently out of college. You've just gotten your real estate degree. But Chris and I had lunch last week, or it was the week before last, and had a great conversation about setting a proper foundation for yourself as you're getting started. And I know Chris definitely sees real estate as a great opportunity for building his own wealth over time, right? But I felt like, Chris, you were really in tune with this idea of thinking in terms of assets and instead of liabilities, managing your money carefully, not running out to buy that BMW because now you're out of school and you think you should be driving a BMW kind of thing. And it got me really thinking, because at the time that we had that lunch, I had just picked up a new book that I'm reading now called Solid Ground, and it was written by T.W. Lewis, who, as we all know, is a very, very successful residential developer. And what's neat about this book is it takes you through his entire experience, his entire progression, but he's really talking to 18-year-olds in this book. What you need to know about faith, family, and hard work, and building the proper foundation for your life, and not being afraid of a lot of different experiences and trying things and failing and all that kind of stuff. And so I tell us about your thoughts when it comes to, talk to the younger people in our audience about, getting started in real estate or getting started in your business and the type of experiences you've had so far, maybe failures and that kind of thing. Tell us.
Yeah, totally. So
here, let me interrupt you really quick.
Go ahead.
One thing I've already observed about you, Chris, is that I think a lot of where your grit maybe comes from is being a long distance runner.
Oh, definitely.
And so that I think that, it's like the challenge that, kudos to you, because I think you have that grit, and it's probably where it came from. It was just, seeing your parents, watching your parents go through entrepreneurism and, having their own shop and store and all of that. And then, getting into long distance running, I'm sure that was a big, big contributing factor to, having the grit and the patience to be able to persevere through, even the beginning of a real estate career.
Totally.
So kudos to you.
Yeah, thank you. I appreciate that.
The finish line is the end, right? But it's the journey.
Yeah.
To get there.
Yeah, definitely. Well, definitely in regards to, being a distance runner. I was actually talking to Reveille about this morning. You don't get any results as a distance runner unless you work for months, for years beforehand. You could stack training block on training block on training block just for one race, for one day in cross country. Your training block starts pretty much June 1st.
So you discover,
it's as much in your head as it is in your body, mindset, right?
It's more,
maybe more so.
It's
in your
more
head.
in your head. You battle your own self. I battled and held back myself plenty of times because of where I was at mentally. Even though physically I was ready to rock and roll, but mentally, maybe I'm down and out, and vice versa too. There's been times where I was physically not there, but mentally there was nothing that was going to hold me back from, certain days where I was on the starting line. I was like, yeah, none of these guys are going to beat me today. You just kind of look around and you're like, yeah, there's no chance. But then physically I wasn't, the most gifted. For example, there's one race that I just recall. I was, I don't know if I'd say going through some stuff, but I was just like, I was hungry, so hungry. I felt like a tiger on the starting line. And I was like, none of these guys are going to beat me today. There's no chance. And nobody did in that race, but a guy that was in that race, he just transferred to his graduate year at Tennessee. He's a 4-minute miler. And I mean, if you remember, I only got to, be a 4:23 miler. So again, I did
6.5 in 8th grade, and that was my peak.
Yeah. So, being again, the mentality of being a distance runner, the preparation is so important. And it was really important for me, as I've gone through all this stuff. I was, like I was saying, speaking with Reverly, I was like, you don't get those results in November from a cross country race unless you do June, right? July, August, September, October. You do all those right.
Well, at some point you discovered you had some talent when it came to running. Like you were generally maybe faster than your friends when you were younger.
Right.
So you figured I have this talent, but you realized that you really still had to work very hard at it.
For sure.
And commit to it. Like it's a long-term process to be really successful at it, even though you have some natural ability there.
Right, definitely. And I think a lot of that also comes from my parents, It's a combination. I had parents who worked their tail off. They still work their butt off, to, grow and thrive a business, in the Verde Valley. They do an awesome job of it. So kind of having that background and then getting into distance running, I was all talent for, a little bit, 5th grade, and 6th grade rolls around. And, that's when it started where it's like, okay, I have to run really hard. And then sophomore year of high school rolls around where I transferred to Desert Vista. And, I came from this small town and I was the big dog. And then I came to a big, the big
metro
boy table.
City. Yeah.
Yep, exactly. And, I'll never forget, I walked up on my first day of practice and there's 60 dudes doing warm-up drills. And I was like, holy crap, that's a lot of people. I was really nervous. I was a little sophomore.
It's intimidating.
Yeah, for sure. And, at first I made a little bit of enemies because I was like, I'm just going to hammer, and go as hard as I can on everything. And they're like, dude, what are you doing, man? But some of those guys have turned into some of my lifelong friends.
That's great.
And so, the process of being a distance runner and just the discipline of saying, okay, I'm not going to see what I'm looking for months. And another thing that, I don't know if you guys know who Tim Grover is. He was actually the athletic physical trainer for Michael Jordan, for Dwayne Wade, Kobe Bryant.
Oh, wow. Okay.
And I want to say Charles Barkley as well. So a lot of big names. And he talks about, obviously there's the physical things, but the mentality of a winner and a champion, how they can literally, if you guys have seen The Last Dance, you would also see this as well. Literally, he can just flip the switch and turn into animal. And turn into like being hungry for something. And it's like, whoa, it's a mental thing, not even a physical thing. Mm-hmm. Michael Jordan, he's not the highest jumper. He did have some crazy, athletic abilities and stuff. Let's be honest. I mean, the dude could jump. He's a jump man. But, it was like fear. He scared people. You talk to some of his teammates in that documentary, they're like, yeah, I was scared of Michael Jordan. You're like, how, man? He's just a person, but that's,
Well, I mean, a lot of it is people knew how hard they were working at it. Like, and they were intimidated by the fact that they were not probably working on it as hard as those guys were.
Right. As much as Michael Jordan was, that was kind of the coolest thing about The Last Dance. I definitely recommend any athlete, any person that just wants to get fired up about something, watch that documentary, because you'll see what I mean. Like, he can just flip a switch, and mentally go from being totally calm and relaxed to being on the hunt. Is kind of the weird way to put it. I know it's a weird way to put it, but like literally that's the only way I know how to, and so that definitely attributed into my real estate career, a long process, a couple of months for me to get my license, to get, actually licensed and into my first deal and done with my first deal. A couple of days after I got my license, I was in another continuing education course. My dad was like, Chris, why are you in a continuing education course? You just got your license, man. Aren't you supposed to be good to go? And I was like, I don't think you understand. Like, I think you do understand, but I don't think you understand. Like, I'm going to put as much work as I can in.
Yep.
I've got, you said it earlier, I'm 23 years old. I got all the energy in the world that I need to pursue those things and dreams that I have for myself and the vision.
So do you find that hard to keep your head in that mental long game that you need to stay in?
Oh, absolutely.
It's hard to stay in it.
Oh, very, very much so.
Because we're in this, society of like instant gratification and, order it and get it today, maybe tomorrow,
Right. So I mean,
hard.
Like expanding on your track experience. So you come out of school, you're starting your real estate career, but in our conversation that we had last week, you were talking about, financial responsibility and seeing the long-term picture of building your wealth and assets versus liabilities. Talk to the young people in the audience about that.
For sure. Yeah. So, I was lucky enough to have parents who taught me about that stuff. Robert Kiyosaki wrote Rich Dad, Poor Dad, most famous personal finance.
Great book.
Most famous finance book, in, personal lives ever, probably, so far, I guess. Read that book, and really he started to open my eyes a little bit on like, just how you see your money. It's not, how you think about it, what it really does for you, how you can, not live paycheck to paycheck. Cause it's, a lot of Americans live paycheck to paycheck. They just live on, okay, well, here's the amount of money that I just got in. And so that means I can spend all of that money on something. Right. And they don't have, an entrepreneur parents, I had a mom and dad who were, again, I'm so blessed to have those two people who just dove into me like, Chris, here's, how it works. And here is where, you have to live within, and this is kind of how you save, and, just simple, concepts like that. Robert Kiyosaki talks about really three concepts, just assets and liabilities and what the real difference is. Income and expenses and what the real difference is there, and then cash flow, and they're all intertwined and related. So for example, an asset is something that's supposed to put money in your pocket, and a liability is supposed to take money out of your pocket, right? Well, how do you really define that? Income and expenses. Is it bringing you income or is it bringing you expenses, right? And that's just super simple, and then that's what cash flow really is defined as. And so you can buy a house and you can live in it, and that is a liability because it's pulling money out of your pocket. Because you got to pay the mortgage, you got to pay the property taxes, you got to pay the electric bill, the gas bill, all that stuff, right? So even an asset in your mind, again, the house operating as, if you are living in it, you do own the property. So at the end of the day, you're going to be able to sell it and make some money on it. But on a day-to-day perspective,
it's not really generating income for you.
Yep, exactly. It's a liability. It's taking money out of your pocket, limiting your buying power.
It's still an important asset to have, right? I mean,
totally.
Especially as a young person, owning real estate, owning property, still is a very, very important part of your overall wealth building.
And that's just a part of the journey of life. I mean, honestly, there's certain milestones that everyone's going to remember.
I don't know. I think there's a lot of young people that are avoiding it though. It's like they're almost,
it seems like it,
they're almost afraid to commit to it because they don't really want to be committed to it. So there's fear there, and I don't know.
Right. So it's like kind of commitment kind of issue. They want to try this, they want to try that. It might take me to this state. It might take me over here. So I don't really want to put down, roots
anywhere.
And that's not good.
So what asset do they get then? I mean, what asset do they gather, I guess?
Well, I think that a lot of people, we were talking about this too, right when I, first got paid from my first real estate deal, the first thing I did, I was like, oh my gosh, I want a new car. Just want a new car, right? I want a new car. I want the new shiny thing, right?
Yeah.
Which is a natural reaction. But, again, it's an emotional driven decision. And so, just personally, I've learned, okay, you have to try and you got to do everything you can to just push that away, push the emotions away and just think logically for a second. Okay, this is the amount of money I have. If I just spend my money on this car, then I mean, this car isn't going to do anything for me other than make me look cool. I mean, and even if that, I mean, that's what it's there to do. I got a car that works just fine. It gets me from point A to point B, and I'm driving quite a bit with the property management work. Yeah. And so, it was kind of just one of those things where, young people, they'll just go for it. Just, yeah, I'm going. And again, there's a time and a place to take a vacation. There's a time and a place to have fun. For example, one of my closest friends is getting married in September of next year. But we're going on a bachelor trip in, I want to say March of next year as well. Mm-hmm. And we're probably going to be going to Florida. And so, I'm not going to not spend my money on going to Florida for one of my closest friends' bachelor trips. It's okay. Right. It's okay to do those things. But I think it's important to understand how emotions play into a young person's desires on that stuff. Like if you're, an 18-year-old, kid, I remember when I was 18, wow, it sounds super cliche and funny to say that as a 23-year-old, but like when I was that young, I wanted such different things as a person. And now I'm like, okay, well, I'm building this thing, I'm doing this, I'm doing that. And then guess what? 2 years from now, I'm probably going to want different things.
It's going to change.
Yeah, it's just going to change. It's going to evolve. And so, getting away from that knee-jerk reaction of emotion that says, I got to have this car, I got to have this, I got to have that. And again, going on a spontaneous trip that, costs you $500 is not that, crazy. But if you don't have the $500, it is a big deal. You got to worry, you got to weigh that.
Well said.
You got to weigh that for sure. I just think that's something that young people fall into a trap of right now. Hey, like, just, experience your 20s and just do it all, okay, like I understand. I think that there's a time and a place to go and do those things. But at the same time, you got to weigh you got to be realistic about where you're at and not where you think you're going to be. Like 5 years from now, I think I'm going to be fine, but right now I'm not, I'm not drowning in money or anything, I'm still working my butt off to try and, get to that.
Do you think that's a common mindset though? Like seriously, for people in their early 20s to think that far ahead, to say, what's this going to look like in 5 years? Or what am I going to look like at 10 years? Or like,
I think people might think about it a little bit, but I don't think they really plan for it.
That's good.
I had a mentor, Paul Vasallo. He actually played at University of Arizona football a while ago. He's been a really awesome mentor of mine. I met him while I was at GCU. And the first meeting I ever had with him, he just sat me down. He's like, Chris, okay, so I want you to close your eyes and I want you to think, what does Chris have in 10 years? Where's Chris at in life? Is Chris married? Does Chris have kids? Is Chris living in a house? How big is the house? How many cars do you have? Is Chris what's Chris doing with his time? What's Chris doing with his money? Who is Chris 10 years from now? Again, I was 21 at the time when I met him, 20 or 21. And so, thinking to 30, you're like, what the heck? I never had to think about that.
I mean, that's great to think about what, where you want to be in 10 years, but how are you going to get there?
Right.
What are the dots that you're going to connect? One of my favorite quotes from this book, and I think Tom got it it was another author that he read, and it was somebody saying that, 30, like nowadays we hear people, 30 is the new 20. And he said, no, 30 is still 30. And you still need to start working towards improving yourself and creating the life and the career that you want in your 20s. You cannot wait till you're 30. That's a bad way to look at it.
Totally, yeah. Well, I think that what, that question brought to me was, okay, here are the goals and dreams. And then the next step, something that Robert Kiyosaki talks a lot about, is you can't close your mind off and say, oh, well, I can't afford that. I can't do this. I can't do that. You have to ask yourself, how can I do it? That's the first step to financial freedom. That statement right there. Changing your attitude.
Changes your mindset.
Changing your attitude from being on the, hey, this is where I'm at. This is just where I'm going to be at. Or how can I achieve those really lofty goals? I mean, that's stuff that happened in cross country and track too. It was like, how can I had crazy goals. I mean, I thought I was, and it was not about like, okay, well, I'm not there yet. So I'm just good. I'm good here, But no, it's how can I get there? What are the steps I have to take? And then so you start at the end goal, then you half it. Okay, so I want to be a 420 miler and I'm a 440 miler right now. Okay, well, I got to get to 430 first. So to get to 430, here are the steps I got to take on an everyday basis. I got to run every day. I got to do strides. I got to do core. I got to, run workouts that are geared towards that pace. Okay, then you get to the 430 and you go, okay, that's halfway there. Now we're going to get to that 420. Mm-hmm. And it's kind of the same process, And so I think just simple goal setting, for young individuals and flipping the mindset of, hey, I'm just here. This is where I'm at. This is how I'm going to be. I'm in poverty. I can't make money. I'm working a, minimum wage job. Again, that's one mindset. And then just flipping it to saying, how can I achieve all these things that I want to achieve? Yeah. And it opens your mind to the creative thinking of saying, well, there's this option, there's this option, there's that option. Okay, let's see if I can try some stuff, right? And then you get into, taking risks. And, I think the young people in their 20s should be taking quite a lot of risk, but
yeah, and it starts with the mindset. That's there's a good amount of time that Tom's in his book Solid Ground spends on this idea that it really does start with mindset. And I don't know who said this, but mindset leads to thoughts, thought leads to actions, actions lead to destiny. Right. So if you have a bad mindset, it's going to lead you to an unfulfilled destiny. But if you start with the right mindset, you'll get there.
Big time, for sure. Yeah, totally agree. Yeah. People that tell themselves, whether you say you can or you can't, you're probably right. That's right. I'm sure you've heard that before. Yeah.
I love this conversation. I mean, we can keep talking for a long time. I'm certain we're going to have you back on the show, Chris, but this has been a great conversation. We really appreciate you taking the time to come down here. For our listeners who are thinking about investing in vacation rentals or own a vacation rental, please look up Rebel Rentals and stay Sunye Realty. They're really awesome and do a great job, and I can't say enough about them. And Chris, I actually want to leave you with a copy of T.L. Lewis's book, because I think you have a great message to tell the younger audience about mindset, about trying to get as many different experiences as you can, meeting the right people, learning from the right people, and growing as a person as a result.
Thank you guys so much for both having me, Brian, Jay. You guys are awesome. We could talk for hours, man. Oh my gosh. I think so too. Seriously. But it was an absolute honor and a blessing to be able to be a part of your guys' podcast and be a guest. So thank you guys.
Well, you bet. Thanks for being here.
You're welcome. Thank you. Of course.